So some of the tools that I use for lathing, I have these hanging up here. This is a OD set of calipers. You'll probably be using these all the time. I got these on eBay. This was pretty cool. These are both really nice tools. They're really old, but I think they're from the 1920s, but this one's Starrett. So, I mean, Starrett is one of the best names you can get in, like, precision tools. And then this one, it's kind of worn off, but it looks like it's Foxborough. But both these are good tools. That was a good find. So those hang up there. And then there was also these splitters here, which are good for marking distances. And then, of course, I have the drive here. I use that all the time for turning down square objects into round. And then the old dead center. Whenever this lathe was new, it had this dead center in it. It was never removed until I wore off the tip right here. And getting this out was just a pain. We ended up taking a acetylene torch and a giant pipe wrench, and that finally gave way and came out. But I made a little awl here for marking the center of objects so I knew where to drill. That's just a piece of oak with a masonry nail that's carved down to the right size. I have a few tools here. I got this chuck here off of eBay. It was like 15 bucks or something. And this fits into my tailstock or the headstock. But what I can use this for is if I chucked something up here, well, currently I don't have too big of a chuck. It is a smaller chuck, but it'll fit mostly for what I need. But if I wanted, I could get a bigger chuck. Then I'd be able to put this here and then have something chucked up there, and I could drill all the way through. So I could drill perfectly centered, like long distance. So this chuck is pretty nice to have. And I just drilled some holes in a piece of wood to hold them. And then of course I have this small chuck I actually found in a bin that we just had laying around. This is pretty nice. This was actually my first revision of a pen mandrel. I made my first few pens on this. Just a piece of all thread that I got for $1. And then this clamps onto the piece here. And it kind of worked, but it had its flaws. It didn't always work. I destroyed a few pen blanks on it, but it did get the job done, kind of. So here I have my lathe tools. These are pretty nice. I actually got these from a friend who just got a new set and didn't need these anymore. And this is the bowl gouge, or just a normal gouge. And this is probably the most used tool. I use that one all the time for turning stuff around. And then I have smaller gouges. We have two skews. The larger skew I use a lot more for pen making, and that's just to get the final shape, get rid of the parting tool marks. I use this to go down and get the correct distance. So when you're lathing, I can cut in with this until it hits the right diameter, and then this will slide through. So that's how you know you have the correct diameter. And then we have two scrapers at the end. I've never really used scrapers that much, but I'm sure I will in the future. And as far as the lathe goes, this is a Craftsman lathe. It is a pretty old lathe, and it doesn't have variable speed. It's just on or off, which kind of can create some dangerous situations. So for about $80, I can pick up a variable speed. I could bolt it here, and then I'd have more control of the lathe. So that's something that I might want to pick up for this lathe, because we actually had a time when we had a big chunk of walnut on here. We were going to turn it down with an old lamp, and right as we turned it on, it just spins up to full speed and it just flew right off. So you need to be careful whenever you have such big pieces. You have to make sure it's perfectly balanced, which is hard to do. So if you're able to slowly spin it up, that would be nice. So we have small and big tool rests. This one fits right in there. For bigger stuff like furniture railings and stuff like that. And then of course the smaller one, which I use for pen turning. It's like the perfect size for that. So both of these are pretty useful, and it has the full adjustment. I can basically get this to go anywhere. Now this bandsaw that's right beside the lathe here, This is just amazing. We found this at the thrift store for like $15. It's hard to find a good bandsaw anymore, but like this is an old Delta, and it's the best bandsaw we have. We just put a brand new blade on it. I was cutting some wood, and it's just phenomenal. It's one of the best bandsaws. So I was looking at those pen kits, and these bushings are like $5 just for this set. So of course I wasn't gonna buy those. So we just made a set here on the lathe. It worked great. I've been using these for plenty of pens, and they sure work really good. This Harbor Freight mini lathe it's just really useful for a lot of small stuff like this. We're using this all the time. We've made a few modifications to it. We found a few flaws, but like this tool here is a tool that my brother actually made in school. It's a lot better than what was on there before. It has a carbide insert and just a few little modifications we've made. So I got this adjustable pen mandrel from Rockler. It has a collet in there basically, so whenever I tighten down on that, this tightens. So if I had two big wrenches, I'd be able to tighten this and it wouldn't move anymore. And then I also have a live center on here. At the beginning I had a dead center, but you could see dead center doesn't work with this spinning over it. I totally ground the tip off. So I got a live center, and I probably should get a tip preserver, but what I've found is if I just clamp this tight enough, when this turns, the live center turns with it, and I don't need one. So this is just the setup I have, and it seems to be working.